Hi everyone, this is Ants. 3 weeks ago I created a video with regarding to a significant performance issue when using labels and rich text labels in Godot 4.3 and 4.4, and the video basically showed how it impacted my game jam and all that kind of stuff. But in this video I'm going to show you the fix that's been merged into 4.5. 4.5 beta 1 has coming out, so I'm going to do some performance tests and I'm going to show you the results. But if you want to get more context on what I'm talking about, here's the video that I published 3 weeks ago. It's called Godot 4.3.4.4 Performance Issue, How to Fix, and the title was Significant Performance Issues with 4.3.4.4 Expose, and How to Fix and How to Mitigate it. But anyways, let's go to the next slide. So the issue here is I linked it, and I'll link it in the description, and I will also link it into the GitHub repo that actually will allow you to run the performance test I'm going to be presenting here for you to test. And maybe you can see if I did something wrong, or you want to add some more different tests and that sort of thing. And the merged pull request, it was called Fix Text Shadow Outline Draw Batching. And here is the link to that, and here's my system information, because maybe with a different graphics card or maybe on Linux it's completely different results. I don't know, but I'm just showing you my system information. Okay, so we're going to go to Godot right now, and by the way, the issue had some MRP, so minimal reproduction project, and unfortunately this is an image. He didn't actually put code, and he didn't put a zip file. It's just an image. But I'm going to provide you code, and I have 3 tests. He only has shadow or not shadow, but I have another use case, and I add more debug stuff, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So here is Godot 4.41, and we'll talk about the source code in a second, but let's just get started because people want to see what's going on here. Okay, so in this test I am debugging the major, minor, and patch number of Godot, and I'm also pulling out which renderer is from code. So I'm doing this in code. This is not hard coded. I'm actually grabbing this from the runtime, and I'm showing you the draw calls. I am drawing 1,000 labels without any shadows. It's just basically 1,000 labels in a random position, and it's doing 9 draw calls to draw all this, and that my FPS is, let's say, 1,000. Okay, and this is the GL compatibility mode renderer. Now I'm going to do fake shadows, and the reason why I'm going to do this is because the outcome of what I'm going to show you, it might be better that you just use fake shadows, because I don't want to steal the thunder from the analysis. But anyways, faking the shadows, basically you draw the shadow and then you draw the label on top of it. Shadow first and then label on top of it, right? So that you could actually see the label always, and the shadow doesn't change the color of the label. Okay, and with this, it's still 9 draw calls, and you might be wondering, well, you're drawing 2 sets of labels, why the draw? Because it's batching it. So it's batching all these things, and this is the reason why the draw calls remains the same. And as you can see, my FPS does go down. It's about 60% of where it was, but it's 50 to 60%, which is kind of should be, because you're drawing twice as many things, right? But now we're going to go to the default Godot labels with shadows and see how bad the situation was. Okay, and I'm using Calino's debug menu plugin, and I'm going to go down to 22, 23 FPS. It's an unmitigated disaster. It's absolutely horrible. And the reason why it's horrible is forget the FPS. It's the draw calls, right? It's 15,789 draw calls. And the reason why, from what I read in the PR and the issue, is each glyph, each character is generating 3 draw calls. Unmitigated disaster. And this is the reason why it went from 1,000 FPS with no shadows to 22 FPS. the milliseconds per frame is 45 to 44 milliseconds per frame. And let's just go with fake shadows, because you need shadows, let's say, right? And now it's just 1.3 milliseconds per frame. And now I'm getting 600 to 500 to 600 FPS. It's just an unmitigated disaster, right? But we're going to show you on Forward Plus the same problem, because on Forward Plus, the problem is still there, but you get slightly better performance across the board, right? All right, so let's play. First of all, what I'm seeing here is just drawing 1,000 labels. The Vulkan renderer does 40% more FPS. It's actually quite significant. What I'm trying to say is everybody should be moving to Vulkan and Forward Plus, and anybody using a framework or an engine that's still only GLES3, the writing's on the wall. But anyways, that's another video. Let's do fake shadows. And again, it's going to be kind of like half that. We went from 1400 to 700, right? Which is fine. The draw calls remains the same. And then we're going to go to the default Godot label with shadows that are broken in 4.3 and 4.4. And we're at 140, 150. It's way better than 22, but it's still pretty bad. It's literally 10 times slower than without any shadows, right? And the reason why, it's the draw calls, right? So as you can see, this is a big problem that they're going to fix in 4.5, and I'm going to show you the fix and see if they actually fixed it. Okay? All right. So as you can see, it says label test 411, but I have another Godot up here, and this is label test 4.45.beta1, and we're going to run it again in compatibility mode. Now I'm giving you all these numbers. Don't worry, because at the end, I'm going to show you the slideshow with all the different numbers, and we could compare them in a more kind of better format so that we could actually see how bad or good things have gotten. Okay, so let's run this. Remember, I'm parsing out the version, and I'm getting Godot version 4.5, renderer GL compatibility. Here's no shadows, and again, it's like 900 to 1,000. It's variable, and then the fake shadow should be like half that or like 60% of that. Draw calls remains the same because it batches it. And now let's see the draw calls on the default Godot labels with shadows. Okay, so now the FPS is 130 to 140, and the draw calls has been reduced by to 2,000 from 15 and 16,000. So it's almost 1/8 the draw calls, and it's about 7 times faster than the GL compatibility with 4.3 and 4.4 using the default label shadows, but it's still at the same level as the broken version of the Vulkan Forward Plus renderer. Again, I might be losing you here, but what I'm trying to get at is this is still pretty bad performance in my opinion. But anyways, things get better with the Forward Plus renderer. Again, I'm on 4.5 with the fix, so let's see the fix with Forward Plus here, right? So let's save. All right, let's run this. Okay, here's no shadows. It's pushing up to 1,500. Again, it's very good. Yeah, it's all over the place. Okay, so let's go to the fake shadows. Again, you're doubling up the labels, one to draw the shadow, and then on top of it, you draw the label. Draw calls remains 9, and the FPS is actually still quite good. And let's see the fix. This is the fix. Okay, so the draw calls is 2009, similar to the compatibility mode, and the FPS is actually 560, 570, 550. It's actually quite good. It's quite good. And you have to realize that if you have to really look at the milliseconds per frame, because sometimes the FPS you look like, oh my god, it's 500 FPS, but anyways, I don't want to go into it, but there's a lot of people that were arguing in the previous one is you shouldn't use FPS to determine if things are bad or good. No, I didn't use FPS. I was actually using draw calls, because my draw calls, the way I found this issue is independently from the Godot issues and PR, is I just saw my draw calls on my game. I'm like, how can I be drawing 1,000 stuff? I mean, there's no way. And it was the labels. But anyways, I'm going to summarize all this information now. in this slide here. And again, here's my system information. I have a 3050, 8 gigabytes. I wouldn't consider it a potato, but it's definitely not high end. And I have a Ryzen 5 5500, and I got 32 gigs of memory. I'm using Windows. Maybe with Linux drivers, NVIDIA, it might be worse or better. I don't know. But this is my build, and you may get different results. So here is the compatibility renderer. So remember, what you're seeing here is the differences between 4.4.1 compatibility mode versus Godot 4.5 beta 1 compatibility mode, and what the differences are. Again, my numbers are higher here because now that I'm video capturing with OBS software to do video capturing, it takes up GPU horsepower, and so you saw lower numbers when I actually demoed it. And the reason why I went through that is because I'm just trying to prove to you that these numbers are pretty bad or good, and we'll have my analysis in a second. But anyways, with 4.4, shadows and fake shadows are the same across both versions, but the broken Godot labels when enabled shadows was creating a humongous amount of draw calls, and the FPS was 22 to 23 FPS. Now the fix, quote fix, reduces the draw calls from 16,000 to 2,000, so like 8-ish times less draw calls, which is very good. And its performance has gone, let's say, 6 to 7 times, right? Which is good, but it's still 4 to 5 times slower than just doing your own fake shadows using draw. Like it's actually better to draw the label twice and do your shadows than the fix. Think about that. Okay, but things get a little bit better on the forward plus. So I'm going to switch slides now. It's hard to tell, but test B, as you can see, test B, and now I say the forward renderer here, right? And again, no shadows and fake shadows are basically the same amount of draw calls. FPS wise, you get better FPS using the forward plus renderer. So Vulkan is better than GLES3. And the Godot 4.4 and 4.3 that uses the broken label, again, the same draw calls, and the FPS was 157. But with the fix, it reduces the draw calls again, the same amount as the GL, but the FPS is now 520 to 530 to 540. You saw it goes up and down, which is actually very good. And the reason why is, and here's my analysis is I think if you're on the forward plus renderer, I think you just use Godot's labels, the fix, and just use Godot labels. And the reason why is you get a lot of other stuff here. You get outline, and I didn't test with outlines. Maybe things will be better or worse, but if you do outlines, if you want to generate shadows on outlines, you have to draw 3 labels now. One for the label, one for the shadow, and one for the outline. And you have to do it in order too, right? It's probably going to be shadow, outline, and then label, right? And so this is going to go down. So what I'm trying to get at is I think this is a fair enough performance for you just to use the straight up label, Godot label and shadows and all that kind of stuff. However, the big problem is, and I'm going to go back to test A, compatibility mode, this is horrible. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's bad. So did they fix it? Has it been fixed? That's the question, right? Again, here's my opinion, and your opinion if you're in the comments if you want to stay. But I think if you use the forward plus, yeah, it's fixed. It's good. It's good enough. For compatibility render, for me, my system and my rig, it didn't. It's not good enough. I'm disappointed. So yeah, that's the way I am. So that's my opinion. So let's go through the code and I'm going to link the code. I'm going to link these pictures in the GitHub repository, and I'll have also these links in the GitHub repository so you could actually do your own analysis and do your own research and all that kind of stuff. I'll put my system info so that you could do like a baseline. And let's look at the code. Okay, so the code is it's, I have a couple of labels. I have a drop down, so you can select the mode. And let's talk about the mode. The mode is basically what drives what drives the different tests, right? And so basically, on change of anything, I set up the labels, I free up all the previous children, I just clean up basically if I need to clean up. And then I query the get version info to get the version of Godot, the major, minor, and patch, right? And then I also get current rendering method, which is GL compatibility or forward plus and all that kind of stuff. I get the screen size, so I know to make sure put the labels within the screen size. And here's the major kind of switch or the match, right? So basically, if it's 0, draw basically just 1,000 labels. That's all it does, just draws 1,000 labels. If it's mode 1, it maps to fake shadows, which draws the shadow first, the shadow label, and then it draws the label, right? And I change the color of the font, right? And then the number 2 is where the actual test is taking place. And basically I am adding an offset for the shadow, X and Y, and then I'm putting the font color of the shadow. I should have put outline, but you know, you could do that test. And then if you click on escape, I quit the application, and then here's the signal for switching modes, and that's basically it. It's actually quite simple, and it's based on this image here. It's basically almost the same, and I'll have this in the description. So that's basically it. Let's end off with the actual data, and I'll show the worst one, which is this. Here is your fix. Yeah, if you want to call it that. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed that. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.